And after nearly a 2-month trial with 34 witnesses and hours of salacious testimony, a jury of 8 men and 4 women finds Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. The judge is currently deciding right now whether Combs will actually be released today. His defense...
Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio, because ladies and gentlemen, now that Diddy has been found not guilty, it's time to get these jokes off. As I'm not gonna lie to you, Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, however you say his name, and then Brian Steele, the legendary Brian Steele, even ended up on Drake and Party Next Door's album as far as his own titled track, literally after his name, as far as Brian Steele, which, if you didn't know, when it comes to that specific album, it is currently the 10th most played album in the world. But that's besides the point, right? I just had to throw some praise towards the GOAT in the midst of this Diddy kerfuffle. And yes, I said kerfuffle. So as far as that being said, and that being stated, I have to let you know, Diddy, at the beginning of this trial, was probably looking at his lawyers, and his lawyers was looking at him like, hold up now.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
No way you coming to us wanting to represent you, and there's a whole 2016 video in a hotel, and you don't even have to say allegedly with this, because guess what? We're going to get to the video in a second. That's why I plugged the Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio. But we're going to get to the video in a second. Not only in 2016 was there a video, but it showed Sean Diddy Combs himself.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
Trigger warning, beating and kicking Cassie, to the point where his lawyers were probably looking at him and thinking to themselves,
not only did you do that,
not only.
Got your ass on camera.
Niggas ain't got me on no fucking camera.
This is the clearest video I've ever seen. This is the most HD shit.
How clear is it?
This is 4K.
Oh.
How did they get you in 4K?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Brian Steele was looking at Diddy, and they was thinking to themselves, how in the world did they get you in 4K?
But then, you know what I'm saying, I was like, damn, look at the state of hip-hop. Like, what's going on?
And, it's a sad day in history because, of course, whenever you're facing a RICO, whenever you're facing as far as sex trafficking, and, of course, the 2 counts of the Mann Act, which is MANN Act violations, of course, as far as transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution, as far as the entire trial taking 7 weeks, as far as having all of the witnesses, which there was Cassie, there was Jane, there was Mia, there was Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi came out of the woodworks and finally confirmed the legendary story in hip hop of Diddy blowing up that man's car, allegedly. Because of course that's the one count that was not, he was found not guilty for that one. So, you gotta be like, allegedly he blew up Kid Cudi car. You know what I mean? I guess Kid Cudi just had to show up for no reason at this point, because of course he was found not guilty on that specific charge. But when it comes to the overall witnesses coming together and just ultimately laying out the groundwork, right? You have to remember, March 2025, they, as far as the feds, raided Diddy. And when it comes to the feds and Diddy, I've been covering this case for quite some time, to the point where a lot of people who've listened to the podcast in the past, and of course, welcome to the newcomers, make sure to hit the follow button, bell icon, things of that nature. But of course, when it comes to Diddy, right, I've been covering this since 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 2025. More specifically, it is July. We are 7 months into July. Oh no, it's 7 months into 2025. Sean Diddy Combs had a whole battle with Diageo, which, if you don't know what that brand is, they're a ginormous brand, a mammoth of a brand. If you want to look up my coverage of that specifically, just type in Diageo, Diageo, and then Analytic Dreamz with the Z, and it should pop up on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. But specifically, I was getting to how Diageo literally is the biggest company when it comes to liquor. Everybody buys liquor, right? You're probably putting money, whether you know it or not, in Diageo's pockets. But more specifically, they also are the owners of Ciroc and the De Leon brands. So as far as that whole kerfuffle, and then just so happened, right? It just so happened, because I'm going through my coverage of Diddy, that after his battle with Diageo that I covered back in, let me see, August 30th of 2023, that same year, November 16th, 2023, as far as my coverage of it, Sean Diddy Combs was accused of sexual abuse and lawsuit filed by singer Cassie. But then let's continue, right? May 18th, 2024, a video of P. Diddy assaulting his ex Cassie in 2016 gets released by CNN. Do I think that's a coincidence? Of course not.
Not only did you do that, they got your ass on camera.
You ain't got me in no fucking camera.
This is the clearest video I've ever seen. This is the most HD shit
Wait,
ever.
how clear is it?
This is 4K.
Oh.
How did they get you in 4K?
So ladies and gentlemen, of course, when it comes to his defense team, Diddy, of course, when it comes to his defense team and Mark Agnifilo arguing that Combs was a swinger, not a predator, Tenny Garagos coming out and basically downplaying the assault as domestic violence. They never really said that Diddy was a great guy, right? They just said ultimately what it was laid out as far as the evidence, it just showed Diddy to be a freaky you know what.
You guys, see, that's the problem.
Brian Steele joined mid-trial, and that's why I always talk about his title off of the Drake and Party Next Door album, because as far as 2015, Brian Steele has been putting up Jordan 96, 97 numbers as far as the hip-hop community, because not only did he get Young Thug off, but seemingly he helped enough as far as joining the Avengers-like defense team and getting Diddy founded not guilty, but not only not guilty, he was not guilty of the serious charges. Well, they're all serious, but the more serious charges that would have like held life as far as him in prison. So you have Diddy being acquitted of racketeering, sex trafficking, and then but he was convicted of the 2 counts of the Mann Act violations of specifically transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution. But when it comes to racketeering and sex trafficking, those were the big charges. That's what Cassie and the other women were literally testifying for, to get him guilty of those charges. And he was founded not guilty. So now he was only, well, I say only, but it's still serious as far as he was convicted of the 2 counts of the Mann Act. And it's up to 20 years. And that 20-year number throws a lot of people off. Essentially, there's a 10 years max per Mann Act conviction. He was conviction. He was convicted of 2 counts. So that's why it's up to 20. But a lot of people are saying that minimal jail time is expected. And Diddy could be let off on time served. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just play the rest of this clip right here. Shout out to RDC.
And did this today. You shot 3 niggas today and asking me, can I get you? Yes, I can.
On God.
Yes, I can get you off. It don't matter what you did. Really, I just want to show you what kind of trouble you was in.
That's exactly how Brian Steele, I'm going to keep saying their names because this is going to go on their jacket for the foreseeable future as far as their entire lawyer career. So you have Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, and Brian Steele. They're forever going to be known for this moment because, of course, people are comparing this to the OJ trial, especially the exposure. And we're going to show you how crazy people were acting because of the outcome in a second. But let's just let this video play out.
I can get you off of anything. It don't matter.
It don't matter.
Come on, man. Hey, guess what? You might
That money talks.
You got Bill, right?
I moved drugs.
Come on, yes, that you will be back rapping in 2 weeks. I promise that. Promise that. Come on, man. Just refer me to your rapper friends. They got money too, right? Come on now. I'm gonna get you off.
Hey, good look.
Hey, no problem. Think I'm an amateur or something? Come on now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we come to realize that money talks in ways that we never thought it could as far as Diddy going up against the feds and their conviction rate, and Diddy basically getting found not guilty on the most egregious charges that would have led to him being in prison for the rest of his life. And now he's basically looking at minimal jail time as far as, and then he could have potentially time served. So I just want to talk about how Sean Diddy Combs is an estimate, right? So it's nothing factual, but as far as estimates from multiple sources, they've came out and basically said that Sean Diddy Combs has spent over $12 million on his legal team. I mean, at that point, you might as well just sign up for the NBA, because the type of money you're making from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, you could have been playing ball for the Lakers or something. But anyways, with that being said, Sean Diddy Combs spent approximately $10 million to $15 million, right? With additional costs for security being $100,000 to $500,000, because you know his family was showing up to the courtroom and things of that nature. And then when it comes to logistics and PR, people were saying it was around $150,000 to $650,000. And then another lawyer mentioned that his lawyer fees, because of course I tried to listen to the people who's actually experts in that field, they were saying that his lawyer fees were probably around $3 million a month. And obviously all of these estimates from lawyers are speculative, looking upon the case. But of course I wanted to give it to you and let you do with that information as you will. But let's just say $10 to $15 million on a case like this, and then you see the outcome, you come to realize once again that money indeed talks. So of course, when it comes to the trial, it was 7 weeks, mind you. It was at the Manhattan Federal Court. The jury, which is going to be very important going forward, because Diddy's about to bless them like no other person has ever blessed them in their lives, as far as the 8 men, the 4 women that deliberated for 13 hours before coming to a split verdict today, right? And then, of course, once again, Diddy was charged for, his charges were acquitted for racketeering, that was the RICO, sex trafficking as far as Cassie Ventura and another woman, and then convicted of 2 counts of the Mann Act violations, transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution. And then, of course, when it comes to the sentence time, I've already talked about how he could potentially get time served, but if he doesn't, he's facing minimal jail time, even though a lot of people are looking at the up to 20 years. That's just legally what you could give somebody as far as the Mann Act. But as far as how the case played out, how the trial played out, experts are saying that he's expecting minimal jail time. Now, when it comes to the legal details and the prosecution claims, ultimately, the 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant that was used by the prosecutors, it was just absolutely made a comedic segment in the universe. Because look at this right here. Once again, Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio, because this is just a sad day in history. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. I may have to just go to my own video. Yeah, let's just pull up my own video. Okay, so it's just a sad day in history. So all the prosecutors that was taking this with the utmost seriousness, talking about the 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant being used, this is what the crowd was doing to celebrate Diddy not being found not guilty. So if I got to see this, y'all got to see this too. Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio, because you cannot make this up. Sad day in history, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I look at this, I just think to myself.
But then you understand, I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
These are our people. I just don't understand. Like, this is the way they wanted to celebrate? Like, this is actually insane. And then look, that man throwing baby oil across the asphalt like he's Steph Curry or something. Look at this. This man embodied Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Look at this. Look at him. Whose uncle is this? What is he doing? How is this acceptable behavior in society? That man throwing, and then you hear the sound mind in the background talking about we don't know what she's gonna do, because it kind of looks like, I'm not gonna say what it looks like, because but it just looked like she may not have all her marbles. Let's just put it like that. As far as the tools in the toolbox, some of them are sharp, some of them are not. I'm not gonna say which one this particular person is, but I feel like Dr. Umar was onto something. At the end of the day, we may have to start giving out lashes, because that type of behavior is unacceptable. Like, we may have to bring it back to Dr. Umar times as far as this particular clip right here.
Richard Jefferson, I sentence you to 500 lashes.
How many?
For conduct unbecoming a black man.
Oh, okay.
Stephen A. Smith,
yeah.
I sentence you to 4,000 lashes for conduct unbecoming a black man.
All right, y'all get the point, right? I ain't gonna lie to you. That's exactly how the audience should have reacted to that person dancing like that, because there's no way on God's green earth we are just out here accepting that type of human behavior. So anyways, with that being said, like I said, I was going to get my jokes off because, of course, Diddy was found not guilty. Ultimately, it's a very serious case when it comes to Cassie and now her well-being with Diddy, potentially, well, not potentially, at some point in the future, he's going to be a free man. And I'm not going to, I'm a huge superhero fan. And Batman and Superman and Spider-Man go through this all the time. You put a villain in prison, right? And then they break out. And then you wonder how they break out. And then now we're seeing it in real time, how actual scenarios that we deem to be very criminal can end up leading to a free man via money, right? It's almost like the kingpin fan casting has to be P. Diddy at this point, because what on God's green earth is happening as far as people celebrating, not only with baby oil, right? Because the prosecutors were out here like, hey, P. Diddy, he was out here having a 20+ year criminal enterprise. They say that he had hosted drug-fueled coercive sex events called the freak-offs, of course,
You guys. See, that's the problem.
And then we have the activities that included drugging, kidnapping, arson, intimidation, blackmail. This was all displayed by the prosecutors and the witnesses, right? And then the judge, Submarine? No, just play. Let me chill. Arun Subramanian. See, what in the world? Ramanian. Subramanian. I ain't gonna lie, I've never seen a name like that. I'm not even trying to be funny. Appointed by President Biden in 2023, presided over the case. So when it comes to all the evidence, when it comes to the prosecutors, the multiple witnesses, like I said, Kid Cudi came forward, Cassie came forward, Jane came forward, Mia, who else? Eddie Garcia, as far as claiming that Sean Diddy Combs bribed the hotel, the video I was talking about in 2016 that we saw in 4K, claimed that Sean Diddy Combs bribed the hotel staff $100,000 to suppress the 2016 Cassie assault video.
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
That's why I talked about my coverage earlier as far as Sean Diddy Combs versus Diageo, the owner of like most liquors in the world, all the way back in 2023. I've been covering this for quite some time. I just wanted to wait because I'm not covering every hour on the hour, because ultimately there's ups and downs. But when it comes to covering the entire music and gaming landscape, I wanted to cover it at the important moment that, of course, was the outcome. Because all that hoopla, oh, he's about to get life. Oh, he's about to get off of time served. Like, it was just it was fluctuating so much. I'm like, let me just wait to the outcome, because this is not a game. This is real life. People were really affected by this. So I want to talk about the actual outcome of the case, not, oh, what we think is going to happen for the 7 weeks that it ran, right? So ultimately, Sean Diddy Combs ended up winning this case. I don't care what nobody says as far as him being convicted of the 2 counts of the Mann Act. The racketeering and the sex trafficking was really the precipice of this whole trial. I mean, they raided his house. They wasn't raiding his house to convict him on 2 counts of the Mann Act. They raided his house to convict him on RICO and sex trafficking. And guess what? They ended up failing. And they failed. P. Diddy will be a free man very soon. And just know, just like Santa Claus, he was checking to see. He was checking to see if you were naughty or nice. So, ultimately, Sean Diddy Combs is probably one of the more powerful people we've ever had in human history. And it's been displayed once again. Because, of course, let's just look at the Fed's conviction rate once more. You know, I want an actual number, right? Because I want to put this in perspective for people. So, when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs spending around $12 million on his legal team, just the overall trial, right? The federal conviction rate in the United States is between 90% and 99.8%. According to Pew Research Center, 90% of federal criminal cases end with the defendants pleading guilty. 8% were dismissed, and only 2% went to trial. Only 2% went to trial. Only 2% went to trial. I don't think people realize how minuscule of a sample pool this is to realize that people do not go to trial against the feds. So when it comes to 79,000 defendants, 79,704 to be exact, 320 out of the 79,704 defendants were acquitted. And with that being said, 8.2% of that 79,000 had their cases dismissed, and only 0.4 of the defendants acquitted at trial. Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted at trial versus the feds of racketeering and sex trafficking. Huge development in the hip hop community because of him now having a whole new chapter being given to him in the free world. We don't know what he's going to do with that chapter. All I'm going to say is, just like a lot of people say that, and I hate to bring his name up to make it seem like they're the same person, because they're definitely not, but as far as power structure, just like people say Jay-Z is probably the most powerful person we've ever had in hip hop, Sean Diddy Combs is all the way up there. Of course, this case did irreversible damage to his public perception, but as far as money, he's still one of the more powerful people we've ever seen in hip hop. And now he's going to be a free man. So that's a huge deal. There's not really too much I can cover after that, because ultimately I just want to get it out to the public and cover this in a way to let you know that I've been covering this case for quite some time. And the way it was going back and forth, I always just want to give it to the public in a concise fashion. I believe I did this here without giving you like 20,000 hours of just, oh, is he going to get out? Is he not going to get out? Like, officially, I wanted to wait till it came out. So there's a lot of things you could go back through as far as my coverage of Diddy. If you just type in Diddy, Analytic Dreamz with a Z, I dived into a lot of things as far as Young Miami. I dived into Sean Diddy Combs dropping his NYC, being dropped by his NYC law firm, which led a lot of people to believe he was definitely cooked. The video in 2016, I covered that. Notorious B.I.G., you know, based off the podcast name is based off of Notorious B.I.G., and I actually had a coverage of him versus Diddy as far as Biggie preparing to leave Bad Boy Records before, you know, his unfortunate death. And then, of course, there's a lot of things that I've been covering. P. Diddy had 18 companies cut ties with him. I covered that all the way back in 2023. It's just a lot of things I've been covering up to this point. So, you know, the irreversible damage has been done, but ultimately he bought his freedom back, and now we'll have to see what he does with it. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about this Sean Diddy Combs 2025 verdict, as far as him being acquitted of racketeering, sex trafficking, but him being convicted of 2 counts of the Mann Act? And ultimately, what do you think that Diddy is going to do with his newfound freedom? Is he going to be a new man, or is he going to continue his old ways?